Well, we had so many ideas of venues to shoot from for 2020, and then along came the coronavirus pandemic, and it changed everything. So we're doing more shows along the coast from what I call the Sports Coast, Pasco County, all the way up to the Big Bend area where we don't have to move through any major metropolitan areas. So I'm doing a lot of home waters fishing right now. And when I fish at home, many times I like to reach out to one of my best friends, and that's Captain Brandon Branch. Well, springtime, we've got beautiful weather. In fact, they said today was going to be mostly cloudy, and I can see that blanket of clouds out there. But in the spring, I mean, you've always told me February 20 to April 20, stuff happens here.
That's right. That's our best time to fish, really. Snook, trout, reds, flounder, you name it. We got some cobias starting to show up now, so it should be good.
Well, that's what I'm counting on. I mean, I know we're in the sweet spot. We have winds that aren't too bad, and I think today's going to be a good fishing day. A lot of people off the water right now during the week. A lot of that has to do with what's going on in America right now with coronavirus, but the ability to come out here, do a little bit of fishing, create some natural social distancing.
Should see a lot of snook today, hopefully. There's been a lot around.
I've seen a lot of snook. I've been out poling a lot of the back creeks with my wife. I've seen more snook than I think I've seen any spring.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in the last week, a ton of redfish showed up.
They have. They went from not very many fish around to the creeks are just loaded. I don't know where they came from, but they're here.
Yeah. So it's a great time of year to be fishing here, and you know, if you can't leave your county right now, home waters are what you want to fish.
That's right.
I love fishing home waters.
Nice and shallow. We were throwing just a regular 5-inch Z-Man jerk shad. White is always a great color. It imitates baitfish or needlefish, greenbacks, and we really were working them really fast, so it doesn't give them time to really see what the bait looks like. They're just thinking it's a baitfish trying to get away from them, so they jump on it. Pile of mullet out there.
Yeah. Trying to stay in and around them, thinking that the fish around those groups will be a little more willing to do the deed. There he is. I could see him there.
Yep.
I was like, if I could just get the line going that way. Boy, when you make it their idea, they are all about it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the pole down.
Yep, go ahead.
Cool way to fish in the spring with so many variety, lots of opportunity. Eat that trout trick. That was a good way to break the ice. all about white. During the time that we're going through right now, a lot of the fishing guide community are suffering with tons of cancellations. So a lot of the guides right now, in particular guides that I have relationships with, they have some free time. And I was like, hey, one of the things that we're still allowed to do is we're still allowed to go fishing, so why don't we get some of these shows done and knock them out right now while we have some downtime? And Brandon's just one of the guys that I always rely on. I was like, I'm gonna call Brandon and see if he's available first. And we got in the boat and I was like, what do you think you wanna do? He goes, well, you wanna do something harder or you wanna do something easy? And I was like, I wanna do something that we can complete. I don't wanna have to plan this for another time. He goes, well, we can go snook fishing and we'll definitely catch them. And I was like, well, let's go snook fishing today. What do we need? He tells me what to load up in the boat before we get out there. And once we headed out and we started fishing some of the points, because we'd been catching snook fairly regularly in the creeks through the wintertime, but now they've moved all to the outside points. So with all the fish sitting out there on the outside points, they start to really bottle up there and get right on the point on the highest part of the tide. And if you're working a jerk shad in a manner that is like lightning quick, I'm talking so fast and twitchy, those fish will jump it. Oh man, this one's got a tail on it.
Same spot every time, just about.
I am glad I upgraded to the medium heavy rod, because if I was still using the one from the creek, I think I'd be in trouble right now. When they hit in that fast moving current too, boy, they hit.
Mm-hmm.
Such a beautiful fish. We used to joke around, call these Cadillac bass growing up. They'll be running around.
One of my favorites to catch right here. Watching
Oh,
them
they've
jump.
got to be. I mean, because they strike, ooh, barely hooked. They strike lures so well.
Getting bigger.
They certainly are. They certainly are.
Doesn't get much better than that.
It does not. It does not.
Beautiful fish.
I mean, that is building action. Building action for sure. That's some good stuff there, bud. Nice. Nice. All right. Stacking some cans. Hard to get tired of this.
It is.
I'm gonna let you throw up there. I'm gonna stay out of the fray for a minute. I mean, do they like a white jerk shad or what?
They cannot stand it, especially
Especially
give it that moving fast.
that,
don't give 'em time
and
to
you
look
know,
at it.
that's something I'm gonna let you talk to a lot, because that's key for fishing snook. Is it's almost like speed is the key.
You don't want to give them the chance to look at it and
No.
really see what it is.
On this day in particular, we were 3 days before the moon, and that usually makes a huge difference. The first 3 days before the moon are usually excellent days to target snook. We had very strong running tides, so anytime you have that, you'll have a big flood tide, and we would just target on those points where the current was really ripping around them, and you could basically call your shot. Every single point with the hard current you could pull up and you would catch multiple snook at one time.
Well, Captain Brandon Branch and myself have been friends now for a couple of three and a half years. He was recommended to me by the Plantation Inn right here in Crystal River. He's one of the guides that runs his operation out of Crystal River. Well, Brandon, at first glance, is extremely young, but do not be fooled. He has decades of experience, because this kid is on the water every day. He's on the water on his days off. He's on the water when no one should go out on the water, when it's blowing 30. And he just has that innate fishy sense to locate fish, understand how to catch them, and he has been successful in every facet of fishing, whether it be bass fishing, inshore fishing, or offshore fishing. He's really kind of Mr. Versatility here. For me, snook are probably in the top 3 species I like to target. I remember growing up, my dad liked to snook fish, and oftentimes that's what we did. We either fished for trout or we fished for snook. We rarely fished for redfish, but somehow we caught redfish on a fairly regular basis as bycatch back in those days in the 70s and early 80s. But snook fishing just has a special place. They're a better predator. They strike plugs, they strike plastics, and when they hit and they run off, you know instantly you do not have a redfish on.
God, got him. He smashed it.
Woo! That was a good one. Bladed it down with a power pole. Good night. That's another nice fish. Super nice fish. I think they're getting bigger.
That's what it's looking like.
Look at the size of that one. Whew. So up here where I live, the water is extremely clean and gin clear. So presentation means a lot. Fish get a good look at a bait. But when you're throwing like those Z-Man 5-inch jerk shads made up from Elazitech, they're so soft and they have so much action with just the faintest twitch. When you get those things really going, they behave like live bait, and right now there's so much live bait on the flat, there's no better imitator than a Z-Man Pearl jerk shad. I mean, it gets the job done. And when those snook get fired up on the top of that tide, when that water's rolling over those hard, long points on the outside, you can do no wrong with a Z-Man jerk shad. All right, when we're talking springtime snook fishing, and that's what this episode was all about with Captain Brandon Branch, whether you're fishing Crystal River like we did today, or you're all the way down in the 10,000 islands close to Everglades National Park, much of it is the same. This technique works everywhere. We're using a 7-foot medium heavy Falcon coastal clearwater rod. This is an excellent tool to be able to throw a lightweight jerk bait like we have here. This is a 5-inch Z-Man Pearl jerk shads. I've got it rigged with a 4/0. This happens to be the Chinlocks hook. It's a cool little rigging hook, and I'll show you one in the tight, but you cannot pull the bait off this. So I can throw dangerously close to the mangrove shoreline edges without any fear of being hung up. So it's going to be important with the leader material that you put a loop knot so that this has a hinge, so the bait will be more free and can move faster this way, not just straight ahead, but faster back and forth, almost like a walking bait, because you're working this so fast it's close to the top of the surface most of the time. And then all you need is a short piece. It doesn't have to be that long, probably 2 feet or less, of 30 and sometimes 40-pound leader. That's what I like to use. I have it tied up here with an Albright knot to 20-pound braid. So the 20-pound braid offers me a little bit extra toughness when I'm throwing around prop roots and things like that. And all you have to do is really focus on making your presentations close to the points and working the bait as quickly as you can. If you do that, you're gonna have a lot of success catching snook in the springtime. Speed is what they want. One of the cool things about the timing of this particular shoot is we were coming up on a full moon period. And everyone talks about, oh wow, you know, you're gonna struggle so much when when you're fishing on a full moon? Well, if you're fishing on the back side of the moon, yes, there is some struggle on the back side of the moon. But when you're fishing those couple of 3 days before the full moon, I mean, some of that can be the best fishing of the spring and fall. And that's what this shoot timed out on, right on the front side of that full moon. And I mean, everything was chewing.
He's on me.
He's on you. There he goes, and he's tight. A good one.
There he jumped. That right there is fun.
Let me get out of the way so I can help take one off.
Ooh, there's another one that was chasing him.
That's all right.
Good thing I retied right there. He did.
Oh, he would have worn you out, huh? Cannot see the lure?
No, it's gone.
No, it's gone. Oh boy, that is a good one.
Look here, just choking that thing.
Come on, give him that hook back. Look at that. Oh, what a fish.
It was a pretty incredible snook bite. When it blows like a little bit and we can get on that bite, it's really awesome to be able to share the day on the water with CA, especially when you just lose count of how many snook you actually caught.
You know, one of the strategies that we employ, fishing Crystal River, is when that tide's rolling over those outside points and we're fishing them, there's more than just the main point. There's the point that you look and you're like, oh, that's a point, because the land comes to a point. But if you really look at those shorelines, there's many little tiny secondary points. And if you look the way the tide moves and where the mullet are jumping and how all the grass kinds of lines up and is going in the tide line, well, you'll see those other points are pretty productive too, and they get overlooked a lot. So the main points get a little bit overfished at times. But if you hit those secondary points in between those long points, there's some really good fishing there, and we did a lot of that today because Brandon knows those secondary points well. Whoa! Before I could get going. Nice fish. There he is. There he is. Dang. Trying to get me in the trees here.
Trying to get you in the bushes.
I'm trying to keep him out. I don't know if he's got me on that. I think I just got him off. I got him off. I got him off. I got him off. Woo!
Oh, he come off right
Came
there.
off right there. That's okay. I mean, that's a respectable fish there.
Right.
Lord.
That's a great way to end the day right
That
there.
is a great way to end the
Beautiful
day.
Crystal River snook.
What a day of fishing. I mean, I can't thank you enough. I mean, we absolutely railed them today, especially on that incoming tide. I mean, starting inside when it was low and getting a few redfish shots, but you told me, don't worry, we're gonna come outside. When we come outside, we'll get a couple of nice snook, and we did. This is an epic day.
That's right. It's
Absolutely an epic day.
doesn't get much better, especially not beautiful weather and great fishing.
I'll tell you what, we'll put them away and we'll head head to the marina, back to the plantation. That was unbelievable fishing today. For me, when I'm spending time with Captain Brandon Branch up here in the Nature Coast Zone, I'm always impressed with his knowledge of what navigational routes you can take on what tide height for sure, but the fact that his tenacity, his personal ability to understand that he wants to always make the mission happen no matter what. He's not lazy. I mean, this is a guide that works hard at completing the mission. And I think that's the number one thing I enjoy about fishing with Brandon is he's just not out just making a living, just doing it. This is a passion. He's good at it. He wants to be the best at it. And I believe he will be one day.